on the busiest street in the city, where laughter mixed with honking cars and clinking glasses from nearby. Two small voices screamed for help, but no one turned to listen. People walked past, eyes glued to their phones, sipping their coffees as if the cries were just part of the city noise. But inside a small corner diner, a waitress named Naomi heard those screams, and in that single moment, she made a choice that would change her life forever. This is Lifelines, where ordinary people's choices create extraordinary stories, and today, you're about to witness one. Naomi worked at Sunrise Diner, a modest little place tucked between tall office buildings. She had been on her feet since 6 a.m., refilling coffees and balancing trays for customers who barely looked her way. Being one of the only black waitresses in a neighborhood full of polished business professionals, she was used to being invisible to most. But Naomi had something most people didn't: a heart that noticed. She noticed the elderly man who came every morning just to sit by the window and watch people pass. She noticed the shy busboy who never looked anyone in the eye. And she noticed, even through the sound of sizzling bacon and clattering plates, the faint, panicked cries from outside. She froze for a moment, straining her ears. The shouts were high-pitched, desperate, and getting louder. Naomi dropped her notepad and rushed to the glass door. Across the street, on the balcony of a tall, pale brick apartment building, two young boys, no older than 6, were hanging over the railing. One was holding onto the other's hand, his little fingers slipping. Naomi gasped. The twins were pale, blonde-haired, dressed in matching blue sweaters. She expected the crowd to be swarming to help, but no one moved. A couple sitting nearby glanced up, frowned, and went back to their conversation. A man in a suit briefly looked, then ducked into a coffee shop. Some people even slowed down to take a video, but not to help. "Isn't anyone going to do something?" Naomi yelled toward the street. No one answered. Her heart pounded. She didn't know those kids. She didn't know how they'd gotten out there. But she did know one thing: if she waited for someone else, it might be too late. Naomi darted across the street, dodging cars that honked angrily at her. "Hold on, I'm coming," she called to the twins. By now, the smaller boy's legs were kicking wildly, his grip slipping from his brother's hand. Tears streaked down both of their faces. Naomi scanned the building. The front door was locked with a keypad. She banged on it, yelling for someone to open up. No answer. That's when she saw the side, a narrow fire escape. Without thinking, Naomi climbed. Her sneakers slipped on the metal steps. Her hands scraped, but she didn't care. Every second felt like an hour. As she reached the 4th floor, she heard a small scream. One boy's hand had finally slipped. She lunged forward, catching him just in time. The other twin collapsed against her, sobbing. "You're safe, you're safe," Naomi whispered, wrapping her arms around them. Her chest heaved, adrenaline surging through her veins. Down on the street, a black luxury car screeched to a stop. A tall man in an expensive gray suit jumped out, his face pale with panic. He looked up to see Naomi holding both boys, guiding them carefully back toward the window of the apartment. "Michael, Daniel," he shouted, his voice breaking. When Naomi finally made it down with the twins, the man ran forward and dropped to his knees, hugging them tightly. His eyes glistened as he looked at Naomi. You saved my boys." Naomi smiled weakly. "I just did what anyone should have done." But the man shook his head. "No, no one else did. I saw the crowd. They just stood there." She shrugged. "Sometimes people are scared to step in." That's when he extended his hand. "I'm Thomas Everett." The name didn't register at first, but the sleek car, the tailored suit, and the gold watch told her enough. He wasn't just wealthy. He was the kind of man whose face appeared in business magazines. The police arrived soon after, taking statements and making sure the boys were safe. Apparently, they'd slipped out onto the balcony while their nanny was distracted. Thomas couldn't stop thanking Naomi, but she brushed it off and returned to the diner. Hair messy, apron dirty, hands still trembling. The lunch rush had started, but before she could pick up her tray, Thomas walked in, this time with his sons by his side. Every customer turned to stare. He placed an envelope on the counter. "For you," he said softly. Naomi shook her head. "I don't need." "It's not payment," Thomas interrupted. "It's gratitude and an offer." She frowned. "An offer?" Thomas smiled. "You said people need to notice more. I run several community programs for kids and families, and I think you'd be perfect to help lead one. Full salary, benefits, and the chance to make a difference, just like you did today." Naomi's eyes widened. She glanced down at the twins, who were smiling shyly at her. She thought about all the times she'd been overlooked, and how this one act of stepping forward had been seen by the right person. She took a deep breath and smiled. "All right, I'm in." The twins cheered, and Thomas shook her hand firmly. Outside, the city kept moving. Cars, crowds, noise. But in that little corner of the diner, one woman's courage had changed not just to lives, but her own. What are your thoughts on this story? Comment and subscribe, Lifelines.